Hello, I am Shirley Curry, a director of the National Eagle Forum and a vice president of the state of Tennessee Eagle Forum. I first came to know and appreciate Phyllis Schlafly when I worked to stop the Equal Rights Amendment. So I'd like to tell you my story of how I became involved. My husband and I were living in Brundage, Alabama, where I was attending college at Troy State University. My master's was in mathematics, so most of my classmates were males. One morning they came rushing into the classroom. "Oh, Dr. Curry, they're going to draft the women." I said, "I don't care, let them draft them all. That bunch of women has ding-donged on Washington long enough. I was just draft them all." It never occurred to me that it had anything to do with me, or my family, or my daughter, or my 3 children, which we had at the time. And so we lived blissfully on and moved back to Tennessee. In February of 1973, Jess and I, Jess being my husband who is now deceased, Jess and I went to Freed-Hardeman University for their annual Bible lectureship. That morning there was a lady there just blasting forth what the Equal Rights Amendment was going to do. I thought, how in this world did that radical get on this lectureship? This is a Bible lectureship. This is not a political event. I was a bit offended. However, she was passing out materials that were prepared and published by Phyllis Schlafly. Also, she told me to look into the Yale Law Journal if I wanted to read about it, or look into the Harvard Law Journal. So I went home, and sure enough, I spent the next week researching all of that and coming to find out that, sure enough, Congress had passed the Equal Rights Amendment, which said that equality of rights shall not be denied or abridged by any state or by the United States on the count of sex. That's all it said. However, when you looked to the journals and looked at the research that Phyllis had done to see what does that mean, oh, I became very alarmed, and I was ready to get something done. Why don't somebody do something? Why don't we do something? And my husband says to me, "What are you doing? Just running around the kitchen with your wooden spoon?" So it was evident that I was going to have to get involved. With that, I learned that Senator Proud, a state senator from Nebraska, was indeed coming to Nashville, Tennessee to talk to our legislature because Nebraska had rescinded its ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment. And he came over and met with a group of women in a hotel there across from the Capitol and said, "Now, women, don't get upset. I've talked to your legislators, and they are not in any position to change right now. But if you will spend this year educating your legislators, you can rescind next year." Well, I turned to the lady next to me, Tootie Ellis, who was also married to a preacher, and I said to her, "It won't take us a year." And I was given the privilege of calling Phyllis Schlafly to tell her of our success and to thank her for the publications and the material that we had used that she had written. Phyllis and I then had talked about some kind of organization that would focus this woman power that we had stirred up all over the nation on other issues and on other matters. And so I came home and said to my husband, we think we're going to start an organization since it looks like we can get ERA stopped and we've got the women out really working. No, 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 he said, no, 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 Shirley. He said, now, Shirley, you are a preacher's wife, you are a full-time school teacher, and you have 3 teenage children. You surely do not need to be in on any organization. Well, as it happened, I sort of sloughed it off. That very day, we received in the mail a brochure from Phyllis Schlafly, addressed across the top, Woman Power. President Phyllis Schlafly. Vice President Shirley Curry. Oh, if it didn't hit the fan at my house. Oh, I hate to relive that day. So I called Tootie Ellis, my good friend that I had talked to, and I said, Tootie, I just can't call Phyllis and tell her I can't be vice president, but Jess is going to have a fit beyond I can handle if I do. Will you be vice president? Can I call Phyllis and say you'll be vice president? Oh, yes, Tootie said, I'll be vice president. Carol won't mind. That was her husband. And so as it was, Tootie saved my day. She saved my marriage. She became vice president. Phyllis was president. And Jess had said, now, I don't mind if you be a member, but please don't go up there and take a leadership role. I know how you do. You can't half do anything. And so it was. I felt very good. So the next fall, we did go back to St. Louis. And the group gathered together, all of the women within the Stop ERA movement, and we were going to form this organization. Now, woman power sounds too much like a fist. So we had decided that's not what we want. And they didn't want an acronym of some kind. And so we used Isaiah's Rise Up Like Eagles. And Eagle Form was chosen as the name for our new organization. And thus, in 1975, the Eagle Forum was born and legally put into action. In 1980, under Phyllis Schlafly's leadership, we had a marvelous celebration in Washington, D.C. called Over the Rainbow. And that Over the Rainbow, we were rejoicing that ERA was indeed dead. Yes, Phyllis Schlafly has and continues to be a strong force for good for this nation. God bless America, and God bless Phyllis Schlafly.